A special type of relay is a contactor. A contactor is a special kind that's made to carry heavy power loads, so a lot of current, for example. And when you have a motor, for example, in industry, typically they are three-phase motors, and so contactors often have a single coil that pulls in three separate switches. It makes contact, and most of the time these are simply normally open. There's usually no normally closed set of contacts. Sometimes there are, most of the time there's not. And the idea is that when the coil activates, it pulls three switches and it makes contact in three separate connections. So you've got the so-called line side, which goes to the power company, it goes to three-phase power, and then you've got the load side, which goes on to the motor. And then the contacts are usually movable, and they connect each line side to each low side. Now these are three separate switches. They're electrically insulated from one another, because obviously if you short out two of the lines from the power company, you're going to theoretically draw infinite current, and things are going to melt down. So this is what a contactor is for, is typically for starting motors or other heavy loads. Three-phase motors are the most common for a contactor like this. The PLC is used in conjunction with the contactor in order to control things like large motors and big pumps and things that are driven by motors, so that the PLC can output a relatively small amount of power to the coil, and the coil then pulls in the switches and completes the circuit so that the motor or pump or whatever the case may be turns on. In this case, a pump is being shown that simply has one phase of power. A contactor could be used for one phase, although usually they would not be. Normally all three of the switches would be used for providing power to the motor.